Thank you very much, Eric. I had to remind Eric that we first met when I was a graduate student, and I was a senior tutor, the resident tutor at North House, which meant and the unemployment rate in a somewhat different way. And I also wanted to look at some specific groups. So if you bear with me, I'm going to try a new program. Very variable employment, very cyclical employment for teenagers. So let me show you how this works. So you see the additional years being added with the darker ball. Looks a little bit like a video game I used to play called Pong. And you can see during recessions, there was a recession in the early 1970s. The unemployment rate for all of the groups is going to jump up quite a bit. And then the recession got even worse in 1975. And you see the unemployment rate jumping up, then coming back down. And then you'll see the recession in the early 1980s, where for teenagers, the unemployment rate goes above the top of the screen. And then let me stop it right here. I'll stop at 1985. Well, 86 will do. And you see, if you look at men, the kind of expected downward sloping relationship between the unemployment rate and the employment to population rate. And for women, you get this curious pattern, which is the opposite. That while employment was expanding, it was as if so many women were joining the labor force, they weren't able to find jobs, and the unemployment rate was rising for women. For teenagers, you see a tremendous amount of movement up and down in the unemployment rate. And if you watch carefully, you also see the whole graph shifting to the left for teenagers, indicating that the share of teenagers who are employed is declining. So I'll let this continue. You also see for men, the proportion employed is declining, while for women, the proportion employed is rising. Okay, and that's one of the major developments in the labor market. It's not a real big surprise, but there's been a dramatic change for the teenagers. The teenagers, fraction employed has gone from close to 50%, a little over 50%, to close to 30%. And if you look at certain groups of teenagers, like black teenagers, the employment rate is even substantially lower. In a lot of what I'm going to show you from here on in, I'm going to leave out teenagers. Not that the youth labor market is unimportant, but I think there are lots of reasons to focus more on the adult labor market, especially if we want to look at longer-term trends. And you can also see here, since the mid-1980s, we got a downward sloping relationship for women. So when overall employment is expanding, the unemployment rate is now declining for women. The reason for that trend I showed you before and our spells of unemployment are much shorter. Even though they've been growing, they tend to be shorter.
Thank you, Alan. You made
Thank
it
you.
very clear.